Alright, so I guess we're gonna be working together. Well, might as well get started. I kind of hoped I'd get paired with you, actually. After all, Ronnie's a bit of an idiot. Seeing that he was the only one left, this group might not be so bad. Well, anyways, what were you thinking? Yeah. Just putting a header on the form. Look, we have to work together. That's the only way that we're gonna make anything of this, so if you have any ideas, feel free to share them. I can't really steal them this way, if that's what you're worried about. Although, if you really think that was unfair last time, alright. I'll tell you what. You think, I'll write. I'm just barely awake right now. Hopefully, some of this caffeine will kick in. I had a bit of a late night. Yeah. You wouldn't know anything about that. I know you can come up with something. Come on. You seem to do fine on your own. There's no reason you shouldn't be able to work with me. I'm not doodling. I'm just laying out everything. Here. I'm going to draw a little Venn diagram to start out with. Alright. It's one circle for that. We'll put one. How do you do this? It's three that kind of overlap, right? Alright. Like that. And then the last. Okay. The last one just goes right there. Alright. Okay. This is good. This is a good start. Okay, let's think. I know you know about this one, because you were talking about it all day yesterday. Everybody knows you know about this one. You got something for me? Come on. Once we fill one of these in, we can kind of bridge it to the other two. It's not that difficult, right? ever did those deductive reasoning puzzles in, I don't know, elementary school? You do all the X's, and then use whatever's left over as the answer. Well, it's probably not much like that, actually. But either way, it's more of inductive reasoning. Yeah. Neither of them seemed like a good reason to me, to be honest. What's that? Not bad. Alright. That makes sense. Oh, well, now we can put that right here, right? Between the two. Damn it. I should have left more room. Here. Do you want to write one along? In case you don't trust me? Alright. I'll put both our names on this one, I guess. Almost looks weird seeing both our names on the same sheet of paper. Alright. So let's think. I'd like to get a little more of this filled out just to get my head around it, you know. Just to see where we're going with this. I have an idea for the next part. Once we kind of consolidate what we're talking about here, we can come up with a couple of examples that, of things we could use for this. Just write it off to the side here. Alright. Yeah, I'm feeling good about this, actually. Feeling good about this. Let's see. They're a little bit sloppy. Hopefully we can keep this sheet of paper to ourselves. I wouldn't want boss man to see this, but hopefully the final product, we can come up with something a little better, a little more organized here. Okay. Alright, so let's say in money. Money's always in the middle, right? There you go. The convergence of all three of the Venn diagram circles. Money. It's a damn shame, I think, sometimes. You know, you're right about that. Yeah, we might be more alike than I thought. You know, that's a good point. And that is a good idea. Alright, looks like we've got a couple more spaces. I want to get figured out the confluence of these 2 points. To be honest with you, I don't really understand how they're different. Let's see. You have any ideas for this? I really want to move on to this part because just, getting a lot of good ideas for it. I just want to make sure we have a basis for what we're going for. Alright. I can see that, but it's a bit idealistic, don't you think? I wouldn't write that down on a piece of paper. It's fine, it's your idea. Why don't you write it down? Starting to wake up a little bit. Feels pretty good. Alright. No, I see what you're saying there, but I don't think that applies right here, but what would apply? What would make sense? Okay, I see what you're saying, alright? I see what you're saying. No, I mean, it makes sense. You explained it pretty terribly, to be honest with you. Okay, no, it makes sense, because then there's each one. Alright. Just gonna write the whole thing out. It'll make it look like we have more. I read that when you fill stuff out, it boosts your confidence about things. So you think you have more done, your mind kind of fleshes it out up here. It's like a kind of intellectual fulfillment placebo. But they say it's not a bad thing at all. And I agree. So I'm just gonna fill all the rest of this out. We'll fine-tune it later. You can fine-tune it since I wrote it this time. You can write it the next time. That's fair, don't you think? Well, I mean, after all, you're not coming up with all the ideas. You had a couple good words. But, look at all this. Makes sense? I think it's pretty good. Alright. Examples. Applications. That's what we need. That's what we need here. What do you think about cars? Oh, wait. Never mind. No, I understand that, but don't you drive a Beetle? Oh. I guess that was some other moron I know. Oh, stop. Whew. Somebody here drives a Beetle, though. Who is that? It's hot pink. It's a little weird, don't you think? Oh, it's the worst car in the world. Yeah, I don't know. They say Hitler came up with the idea himself. No wonder. I don't think we should pursue that course of action. Not today. But, let's think for a minute. if we set all this aside, we think about this a little bit more abstractly. We might be missing something, you never know. Sometimes the things you're looking for are too close to, kind of notice. Kind of like they're out of focus or something. Going through the motions like this is good. And, I think we did a pretty good job, but let's think a little outside the box for a minute. With what we're trying to do, we need to expedite a process. In essence, at least that's how I look at it. I know that that's not necessarily how you look at it, but that perspective is necessary for what we're trying to do. So, since that is true, incorporating a certain hastening element would not be particularly bad. What if, instead of going by this Venn diagram, where everything is separate or it's shared with one other thing, why don't we just get out everything, just, mind to the paper? I know you don't want to write. I'm not asking you to write. I can still write all the stuff. You just gotta, think of something, think of an idea. I'm just gonna write whatever comes out. If you have an idea, just throw it out there and I'll put it in. My handwriting is better than yours anyways. I want to be able to discern this, It needs to be legible. Do you want to draw or write or whatever or not? Do you want me to do it or do you want to do it? Well, too bad. I'm doing it. Should have made up your mind earlier. All right. No, I'm started. I've already started. I guess anything, any of them. They all count as far as I'm concerned here. I'll cross yours off later. Alright. Shit. I think I've had a revelation, actually. I think that kind of the tension here adds to the flow of ideas. I think that you're a little on edge, or you were. So you're a little bit more engaged in the thinking process. You look like you're almost entranced in this. I'll say I'm impressed a little bit. Never knew you had it in you. You keep going with this stuff a mile a minute. Whew. How do you spell that? I know I've read it before. Just because you've read it once doesn't mean you remember how to spell it. Do you know how to spell connoisseur? Double letters aren't that tricky. Alright. Look. Maybe we need to do kind of a tiered system with this. I know it's going back on what I just said, but, you know, I think we're developing a little bit of an idea here. I'd say in a few minutes we can get to work on this. Skip this planning stage. To be completely honest, I'm not big about planning. I like to get to work, you know? You know this. I know you like to have everything kind of, you know, prepared. I think you've got everything prepared enough in your head for this. I know you like to have it all, you know, planned out, but I think this will be good. I really do. You know, conceptualizing all of this. It makes sense. I think we both understand it, so there's no point in just writing things down forever. The planning does not need to, you know, I just want to get to work on this, finish it up, have a final product to admire my work, obviously, and then, you know, just sit back for a little bit and watch it bloom. That's how I want to do this, you know. And I think we're in a unique position to do that right now. Looks like we're a bit ahead of the curve here. So, here. I wrote it down, so it's all up here now. If you want to take a look, you can just have those for your personal record, so whatever. You know, I don't need to go over them again. I've read them, so they're in there. Alright. Okay, so first step. First step, we need to go down to the workroom. Figure things out down there. Now, I know you don't have a great relationship with some of the guys down there. You know, they talk about your attitude. You say that's me. Well, you're probably right. Hell, maybe you should do the talking then. I will, just organize my thoughts in case they're needed. Alright. I mean, you did a good job, I think, coming up with some of these ideas. I'll cut you a break. I'd say we each take an equal share of the credit for this when it's done. Is that all right with you? If you can live with it, then I can live with it, I suppose. Now, when we talk about compensation here, fair enough. All right. Well, I'll say we actually make a pretty good team when we have to. What do you say we get down there? Figure things out. Alright. Just don't hurt yourself. Okay. Let's do it.